The Star and D'Amico Show is brought to you by cheapesttshirts.ca. If you're looking for quality gear without overpaying, shop cheapesttshirts.ca. Huge selection for men, women, and kids. Tees, hoodies, headwear, bags, and more. Proud Montreal business. Order today, ship today, delivery tomorrow. That's cheapesttshirts.ca. Local, fast, and affordable. Brought to you by instacustoms.com. Do you need custom gear from a local Montreal business? Instacustoms.com has you covered. Custom shirts, hoodies, hats, and more made your way. Fast turnaround, great quality, and proudly Montreal-based. Check out instacustoms.com. Brought to you by Cabletel. For trusted alarm systems in Quebec and Eastern Ontario, choose Cabletel. Over 20 years of expert installation and top-tier protection for homes and businesses. Check out Cabletel.com. Email them info@Cabletel.com. It's Cabletel. Peace of mind you can count on. Brought to you by Morella's Steakhouse. Looking for an unforgettable night out? Morella's Steakhouse on Highway 132. It's just 15 minutes from Montreal, serving up premium cuts and bold flavors, and no tax on your bill. Book your table tonight at morellassteakhouse.ca. Taste excellence tonight. Brought to you by Little Bear. Give your pet the best with Little Bear Pet Supply. It's a proudly family-owned business here in Montreal for over 30 years. Chuck, Evie, and their all-star staff have you taken care of with all the top brands at the best prices, and they really care for your pets. Shop online at littlebearonline.com or visit them on St. Catherine across from Westmount Square. It's Little Bear Pet Supply. Brought to you by McLean's Pub. Head over to McLean's Pub, 1210 Peel Street in the heart of downtown Montreal. Great food, cold drinks, and big games on all the screens. McLean's Pub, good times and great company. Welcome to your Sunday extravaganza, live on the Star and D'Amico Show. There he is with the peace sign. What is good, Marco D'Amico?
Saturday night's all right, I guess.
Saturday night, when Mr. Saturday Night. Who scores more goals on a Saturday night over the last 2 seasons across the National Hockey League? Answer to the trivia question is nobody. Not Nathan McKinnon, not McDavid, not Draisaitl, not Jason Roberts, not no one. Cole Caufield with a 2-goal, 1-assist, 3-point performance, and a must-win game. So declared the captain before puck drop in Buffalo. And Nick Suzuki and his squad deliver. And Jakub Dobson delivers once again. Cue up the DJ Khaled. All I do is win, 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 as Jakub Dobson runs his point streak to 9 consecutive games. And Marco, I'm going to begin with a holy shnikes. Where did that come from? It was exactly seven days ago where I put out the over-under on points of the Montreal Canadiens. I think I said it at 1.5. Somebody said 2. And the Montreal Canadiens against Vegas, Colorado, and the Buffalo Sabres, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but all 6 points. I mean, what was it? Was it Jakub Dobson? What was the TSN turning point this week for the Canadiens that now has them in 3rd place atop the Atlantic Division?
Jakub Dobson obviously had his words in there. I think that they definitely got the saves, right? It wasn't necessary. No, it wasn't a softie per game as we've been accustomed to seeing. He's definitely been better. I think the goalies got a little rattled after the Eric Raymond firing as well. Dobson, to me, what's really been improved in his game has been the floor play. Oh, no, not again.
We're just getting started, baby. Like, we're just getting started.
His pad play is really, like, beating Dobson down low is a quasi impossibility. You have to beat him one-on-one and deke him out of his pants because his legs just take up the entire bottom half of the net. The only place you could really beat him is up high, but even then, 6'5" goalie trying to beat him up high, you maybe got like a 2 to 3 inch hole. If not, everyone's trying to get him under the arms, right? And that's where we've seen a lot of the goals is under the arms. So there's been adjustments there. I think Jakub Dobson has been a big part of that. The other side I would also kind of bring into it is the Canadiens are healthy, so they have really good depth, right? Like, think about it. Alex Texier comes out of the lineup yesterday, and you could just easily plug Kirby Dach onto the top line. How good did Kirby Dach look on the top line yesterday with his forecheck, his reach, his intensity, his vision, right? And so being able to have a next man up in this situation where it's not calling up some I wouldn't say a raw prospect, but a prospect who's not ready from Laval, as opposed to having an option right away that you can just move from your 4th to your 1st line and have an immediate impact. that kind of depth across their lineup. Dach has scored, had an assist yesterday, scored against Vegas on Thursday. Zachary Bolduc has upped his game. Phil Deneau has started producing offense. So you're starting to see offense coming not simply just from the kid line or the top line. You're seeing offense from throughout the lineup. And lastly, the Canadiens' defense. Noah Dobson has taken such a step up over the last 2 weeks that to me, he has looked like the Canadiens' best defenseman. He has looked like the Canadiens' number one defenseman over the last 2 weeks, while Lane Hudson has been a transition machine and Mike Matheson has continued to be that rock on the shutdown side.
You speak of shutdown of Mike Matheson. I see it the way you see it with Noah Dobson. I thought he was so good late in that hockey game in the 4-2 win over Buffalo. Oliver Kapanen ices it into an empty net for the fourth and final goal in that win. And Mike Matheson played over 5.5 minutes shorthanded, where again, the Montreal Canadiens and again, the referees and again, as Marco put it, I think on social media at one point, be nice to, not dig in on the referees, and we're not going to spend really a lot of time on the Zebras last night in that hockey game. But let's highlight Kirby Dach for a second. Under 13 minutes of ice time, absolutely instrumental in that role for Alex Texier, who was scratched from the game. Dach slides up and so good on the forecheck. We talk about the speed, we talk about the size of 77, and all of that was in perfect sync in order to set up what turned out to be the game-winning goal when he wins that battle along the boards, does a good job of controlling his body. He gets the puck to 14 over to the 13. Boom, it's past Alex Lyon, and a 3-2 lead, and the Canadiens never look back. I mean, it's fair to say Dach's game has grown incrementally since he returned from injury, from when we last saw him in mid-November until now, the games. And that's what you want to see, isn't it? You want to see steady growth charting upwards without very few dips. And I think that's what we've seen from Kirby Dach, regardless of the role he's playing.
Yeah, I think with Kirby Dach, it's more he's come back to the level that he was right before his injury. And where I think it makes it interesting is that when he was injured, he was still playing at center. But now they've removed him from the center line. They don't need him to be a center anymore. He could be that, imposing power forward-esque winger. And I think when you remove the pressures of the center role and you allow him to just play his game on the wing, he becomes more effective in that regard. Just a menace on the forecheck. The reach on his stick just alone is very difficult to contend with from a defensive perspective. You combine that with his skating, he's able to come on to a defensive player in terms of imposing pressure. He's able to come in quick. He's able to take up a lot of ice, so the defensemen don't have much in terms of options around him. And he's been, effective in that, not even just on the top line. I thought he was effective even in a fourth line situation. Him and Zachary Bolduc on that fourth line were menaces this week, against the Colorado Avalanche especially, but also, earlier in the week, when they were playing on Tuesday, I thought, relentless in the way that he forechecked. So I like where his game is at. I think he is better suited, and I've said this time and time again, he's better suited for the wing. And now that you have him play like that, the Canadiens are looking for, and we've said this on the trade market, they're looking for a player that could fit into their top six, that has size, competitiveness, and jam. I'm not saying that they've found the solution. I'm just saying they have one of those pieces here in Kirby Dach if he can continue to play like this and, above all, stay healthy. But if they can add more players like him, but, for example, less of a playmaker, more of a scorer, and you have these kinds of elements along your wings, the Canadiens will be a very dangerous team for a pretty long time, because we're seeing the true value of their depth right now with everyone coming in healthy.
We're seeing a lot of dangerous players on Martin St. Louis' team, and we want to thank everybody for being with us nice and early on this Sunday morning. If you're watching, just hit that like button. It just provides more eyeballs. It really helps Marco and I in terms of just getting more exposure. More people get to see this. Put it in the old-fashioned algorithm at this point. So if you're here, just hit that like button. It takes 2 seconds, and it certainly helps us and the channel and this community, which is a passionate and loyal Habs community, continue to grow exponentially the way Kirby Dach's game has grown since he returned from injury. It's funny. I've often said for a long time, I'm here for the rewriting of history. I'm here for the first 100-point guy since the days of Mats Naslund. I'm here for the next 50-goal guy since the days of Stéphane Richer. Kirby Dach, once again, Cole Caufield once again continues to light it up. And we've talked about the incredible stat. No one has scored more goals on a Saturday. Of his 31 goals, 22 goals have come either when the game is tied or the Canadiens are trailing. I mean, that's the definition of clutch. You look it up in the dictionary, you should see a picture of Cole Caufield. Unfortunately, Bill Guerin doesn't know how to read a dictionary. That's why Cole Caufield is not on Team USA. But let's talk about this. Like,
damn,
Marco, brother,
emotional damage,
bro. Let's go. Slam it down. Let's go.
Oh my God,
he's on pace for 48 goals, man. I mean, what would you put the odds? And we don't do betting sponsors on this show, but like, would you say, I mean, is he more likely or unlikely to get fit? He's on 48 goals, man. I mean, 85 points in a 48 goal season for Caufield.
Where I would think it could be interesting is if you would have asked me at the pace that he's going right now, if he were going to the Olympics, I would be bullish on the idea that he would get 50 goals. Because historically speaking, players that go to the Olympics when they come back don't produce at the same rate when they go to international tournaments when they come back. It's statistically speaking. I think because he's going to get 3 weeks of rest, it's got to be higher than 50% for me. I'd put it at 60, 65% that he could hit 50 at this rate, because Cole Caufield was dangerous after the Four Nations. Like, he salvaged his season last year because, like he was in December, it wasn't trending very high. In December, he was trending for like 35, 36 goals. And it popped off in January, as we saw. I think he finished the month with like 13 goals, which is insane.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at the trajectory, I think that he could be ever more dangerous down the stretch for the Canadiens, because he's going to be rested and he's going to be able to perform. And I think, to me, if he doesn't hit 50, he's hitting 48, 49. He'll come right close, right there. Because the way he's scoring is completely sustainable. Look at his heat map yesterday. Where was he?
I was just about to ask you, how smart were those goals? Like, the active stick angled at the right spot, finding the open ice because Ostlund had defensive zone breakdown that allowed Suzuki to find him because he knew the guy wasn't there, because the coverage was overcommitted. And there was Cole Caufield, like, high. Isn't that it's crazy though, right? Like, I love size. Cole Caufield's not a big man in stature. He's got a big heart, plays a big game, right? But he makes up for the lack of Tage Thompson-esque size by I think being such a high hockey IQ player situationally.
I also think that he's got he's got that dog in him too.
100%. Yes.
We've seen him check some guys into the corner that probably 4 to 5 inches, if not 6 or 7 inches taller than him. He's not a guy that's going to shy away from contact either, unless it's, like a blatant open ice hit. Then you maybe try to avoid that. But if it's a one-on-one battle in the corner, like, he's going in shoulder first and he's going to try it. So I think excellent hockey IQ. That's what's always made him dangerous, is that he knows where to be all the time. I think that one of the things that also makes him interesting is when he has possession of the puck, he doesn't shy away from bringing the puck to the high danger areas. Right. And that's how he's beaten goalies, right? He'll come in on the short side and, they'll try to like cover the post, one knee down, expose the top shoulder. And then he just snipes the top shoulder on the short side. And that's how he scored a lot of his goals this year. Well, that shows a willingness to go to the dirty areas, because he can get popped off. The defenseman can come in and try to get him, as he's taking his follow through. He's fearless in that regard. So I like what he does. I like the element that he brings to any line, which is right place, right time kind of player. Where what I felt like that line needed, that maybe an injured Alex Texier maybe wasn't bringing, was the puck retrieval element. And I feel like that's where Kirby Dach completes this line quite well, because he's never going to be the goal scorer of that line. But man, when it comes to puck recoups, when it comes to making space, when it comes to using his reach to give him like an extra second of time to make a play, I think that's where the Canadiens really do value him, being able to just place him on that top line, even though he's not, your prototypical top 6 player right now.
We'll talk about the Canadian schedule and what's left before four of the Montreal Canadiens depart for Milano and Cortina. Team Canada plays their first game in Italy at the Winter Olympics. February 12th, they take on Czechia. And we know Nick Suzuki will be a part of that group. No Canadians defensemen are there, mind you, and no Canadian goaltenders. But right now, Jakub Dobes very much playing at an all-star level. You know, we spoke about it after the win against Colorado on our live show on Friday morning about him setting or tying a rookie record. There's a fun answer to a trivia question. 8-game point streak at the time, tied with Mike Condon back in 2015, 2016. Now it's 9 games. And it was funny to me that what seemed to be, Marco, the immediate impact of Marco Marciano, as Jakub Dobes was giving him a lot of credit, right, about how he had a voice and looked like he carried it through. A 947 save percentage and so competitive in the crease. Timely stops. I thought the puck tracking was outstanding. And once again, I mean, this guy's on a roll like he was in October.
Yeah, and you know, it's almost unfortunate because the game against Vegas, he had like an 897 save percentage.
Yeah.
But was sublime. So like sometimes the stats don't tell the whole story, right? Like it's really difficult. I think he was great. I think that, like you said, the puck tracking was there. He competed. Dobesh's only default for me is that he doesn't recover well when he loses sight of the puck. I think that's the one thing where he's got to continue to work. But this is minute for me, honestly, in terms of a default. One of the things I think he's done really well, I'd say over the last probably 4 games now, is he's playing tighter. He's not Dominic Haseking it every time. He's aggressive to the shot, playing the percentages well, using his physical gifts to be able to make the shooter have to double think what they want to do. And you've seen it from time to time, right? When it's a point blank shot, like we saw it against Rasmus Andersson with Vegas, where he just comes out. He's like a foot away from the blue paint. He's coming out aggressive. And the player was winding up to take the shot. Like you saw the bend in the stick. And then he had to double think that and then let the shot off. Instead of going high, he took the shot off like midsection. But by that point, Dobes blocked so much of the net that it just went off his midsection into the side, right? So that's the kind of play that we've seen from him of late. And I think the only time a player like or a goalie like that could potentially get caught is against teams like Buffalo, because as much as the Canadiens beat Buffalo yesterday, they play with such an insane forecheck. The speed, they're one of the only teams I think that can match the Canadiens speed for speed right now.
Agreed.
But they do so with a relentless forecheck. So the fact that Dobes was able to maintain wherewithal amongst the dizzying puck movement in his zone, to me, I tip my cap, because this is the kind of performance that you would expect from a goalie that is giving you above average goaltending on a regular season. Right now, the Canadiens are getting better goaltending out of Jakub Dobes than most teams are getting out of their number one goalies. And I think that needs to be commended. The only thing I say with Jakub Dobes, and I've said this from the beginning, is just don't galaxy brain it with him. Mm-hmm. Like if he's on a roll, let him go, let him keep going. Remember that funny stat that you used to put out that he plays his best when he rests 7 or 8 days between games? And I said it was coincidental.
The numbers were crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, but look at this week. Coincidental.
I know.
When he is on his game, he's on his game. And I think that's where we see a Jakub Dobes right now who is on his game, who's in confidence. And like we saw him do in the NCAA, like we saw him do with the Laval Rocket, this is a goalie that gets better the more he plays. Not the less he plays, the more he plays. And he's feeling it right now. And Marciano knows how to get the most out of him. I think he's got a couple of things to continue to work on. He's not a perfect goalie. He's a rookie, for the love of God. But I think the more that goalie shores up his technique, the more the potential for this young man to be an everyday number one goaltender in the NHL continues to rise.
The Canadiens will play at Minnesota on Monday night at 7:30, and then it's the Star and D'Amico watch party live from McLean's Public House on Wednesday night. We're going to be live at
Mhm.
1420 Peel Street. Come check us out. Great food, great service. The vibe is off the charts. And of course, Marco and I will be there. That means the vibe will be even better. So we'll be there from 6 to 7. Come hang out with us. Our friends at Morella's have offered up some gift cards. So we got lots of swag. And come check us out and be part of the live show. It's a really good time.
Would you say it's going to be cuckoo bananas?
I would not say it's cuckoo bananas. I would not say that. Last night was cuckoo bananas on the, it was the battle of the two youngest teams in hockey. Montreal, number one, Buffalo nipping on their heels, right? But I loved
Mhm.
what you said about the Sabres. I mean, I agree. They're so fast. They're so aggressive on the forecheck, and they had their chances. And I tip my
Mhm.
cap to Mike Matheson, shorthanded, gobbling up minutes. Noah Dobson was very strong. I thought the Canadians, to a man by and large, were very responsible in terms of coming back and checking their assignments. And Jakub Dobeš, instrumental with his 947 save percentage, back getting his 9th consecutive point for the Montreal Canadiens. But I'm curious, before we move on to other topics, including Noah Dobson, and we'll get some Q&A from the audience as always, but what's your take on Buffalo? I mean, they clearly have turned the corner, and I don't see anything that leads me to believe that regression is going to be something you and I are going to be talking about in March or April. That, I mean, they have bought in, they've got good leadership, and they play a really good form of hockey, man. I like watching them play.
It would take something monumental to see them drop off. The details in their game are excellent.
Yeah.
Right. And I think what's happened now, when you start getting some of your younger guys coming back or some of the younger guys coming in and stealing spots and making, I'll give you an example when it comes to the Sabres. Okay. Remember when they traded JJ Peterka to Utah and everybody thought that trade was garbage?
Right.
I don't even think they would trade back Josh Doan 1-for-1 for JJ Peterka right now.
Yeah,
And
two
they
guys
got
going in different ways.
Michael Kesselring, who shores up the right side of their defense. And now they've got balance. Now they've got rhythm. Now everyone's kind of got their role. Rasmus Dahlin is on kind of an inspired heater, absolute rooting for this guy, especially with what happened with him in the summer. Just rooting for him and what he's done, and just the pride that this team takes in itself. It's really interesting to see. I think they finally have forward balance. Getting a guy like Noah Ostlund that comes into the league and is already an effective piece as a first-round pick. Remember that Noah Ostlund was drafted with the first-round pick that they got for Jack Eichel. So not a nothing trade, that trade. Alex Tuch and Noah Ostlund could be, key pieces for that franchise. Obviously never going to be a Jack Eichel, but still key pieces that they're able to funnel in. And Peyton Krebs, I think, is on their fourth line right now. So they still have elements from their trades. Where I think we're seeing something different with Buffalo is that they've changed the identity a little bit, especially at forward. They changed the identity. They're playing with guys, going to get Michael McLeod. I thought was a great trade for them. Obviously, Matthew Savoy was a great player. I thought they could have done better in terms of asset management with him, but Michael McLeod is an excellent middle six center. So they've shored that up. Tage Thompson has been playing some inspired hockey.
Oh, dude, that ringy dingy off the crossbar there where they were pressing for the equalizer. Oh, mama.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was basically him, Jason Robertson, and Cole Caufield as the three American goal scorers, and I think DeBrincat too, that really just popped off after November, end of November, and they've been excellent. So, again, tip of the hat for the Buffalo Sabres. I know this is a Habs podcast, but game recognized game
100%.
For a franchise that's gone through the ringer for the last 15 years. It looks like they're well on their way to making the playoffs this year, and I hope so. I would rather see the Buffalo Sabres in the playoffs this year than the Florida Panthers squeak their way into the 8th seed. That's my 2 cents.
Good night for the Canadians on the out-of-town scoreboard, too, just to add to it all, right after the 4-2 win in Buffalo. Nathan MacKinnon and the Avalanche get back on track. MacKinnon with a nice night. Colorado shuts down Detroit in a 5-0 final. The New York Rangers do what they do best, and that is lose hockey games. And the Winnipeg Jets come from behind and shut the door. I keep on saying Mike Comrie. Eric Comrie helps backstop the Winnipeg Jets to a very close 2-1 win over the Florida Panthers. And we talked about the fact that the Canadiens were winners last night. Ottawa seemingly getting better. Linus Ullmark back in net in an emotional return for the Ottawa Senator goaltender there in a 4-1 win for the Sens. And at the end of the Habs, I was watching that crazy 3-on-3 between Vancouver and Toronto, where Austin Matthews gets awarded a penalty shot on 3-on-3, but does redeem himself in the shootout, and Toronto picks up a much-needed win. Let's put a little shine on the Canadiens captain for a second. 2 assist night for Nick Suzuki. We saw him this week be in beast mode, scoring shorties, scoring on the power play. He's on pace for 95 points, but I want to, get your perspective on his leadership. He went into the game and it was out there. He called it. And again, to me, it's more of a psychological thing than a literal thing. It obviously wasn't a must-win game, but mentally, Marco, what I like about it is you put your head in a space where you've convinced yourself that Saturday night in Buffalo is a must-win game. And I thought, they win the game, and Buffalo had tons of chances. Don't get me wrong here. The Canadiens just didn't walk all over the Buffalo Sabres in that win last night. But nevertheless, I like challenges, and I like when players stepped up. And I thought the leaders of this team, led by 14, really stepped up. Your impressions on Nick Suzuki's week?
Olympian.
Yes, all day, man.
Just one of the 12 best Canadian players in the National Hockey League, bar none. I'll even go as far to say top 10. I just forwards, not players, forwards. I just feel like it was a little underwhelming in the month of December. He would still get his points, don't get me wrong, but he didn't have the 5-on-5 impact that we've seen over the last week and a half. And it's almost indicative. I'll bring up a play. The Canadiens were deep in their zone in the third period. Logan Thompson was trying to play a cycle game, and Logan Thompson's got about 6 inches on Nick Suzuki.
Tage Thompson.
I will never get those two right. Tage Thompson has about 6 inches on Nick Suzuki, and maybe about 20 pounds. And Nick Suzuki did not let up on that defensive zone forecheck, and Thompson couldn't do anything. He couldn't go left. He couldn't go right. He kept trying to shake Suzuki loose, and he just ended up backhanding it across the boards. I believe it was Matheson just grabs the puck, goes back the other way. Montreal, and this is kind of my issue with it. Nick Suzuki, to me, if he played consistently, because he did last night, but if he played consistently on the penalty kill, I know they don't want to overload him, but if he played consistently on the penalty kill, he would be this season the absolute shoo-in Selke winner.
Yeah,
in my opinion, the shoo-in. He is one of the best all situations player in this league. And if it wasn't for the way that Martin St. Louis uses him, and this is not a dig at St. Louis, he's got other players that can perform here. But if Martin St. Louis used him regularly on the PK waves, he would be the unquestioned favorite. He's still the favorite if you look at betting odds, but he would be the unquestioned favorite Selke winner this season, in my opinion, because he is just dominant in every single sense of the word when he is on. And when you see him yesterday, yes, he got 2 assists. I thought that he whiffed on his shot on Cole Caufield's goal, and it happened to just get to Cole Caufield. I don't know if that was intentional, but you make your luck in this league. What impressed me the most about Nick Suzuki was defensively. When the Canadiens got, what was it, those 3 penalties in a row, 4 penalties in a row?
Yep.
He was absolutely clutch for them when he was on the ice, blocking shots, getting his stick in lanes, crunching guys, pressuring guys. He was, when I say the Canadiens, it's easy to get into the slot when you play against the Canadiens, not when Nick Suzuki's on the ice. And that is so indicative to me because his wherewithal in protecting the high slot is why I want him on the penalty kill, because I find that Jake Evans, by extension, allows it too easily when he's on the penalty kill. And that we saw on the Noah Ostlund goal, for example, where Jake Evans overcommitted himself on the slide and then couldn't come back to cover the slot. So to me, those are the kinds of elements where Nick Suzuki thrives. Defensively, his anticipation is key. The way he's able to I guess, trap guys, extract the puck, go back the other way. The shorthanded goal that he scored this week as well. He has just been clutch.
A
And
breakaway shorty too. Yeah.
Well, that was Oliver Kapanen with a very smart lob. And I think Kapanen too. Kapanen played a great game yesterday, in my opinion. The last two games were his two best games of the month of January, in my opinion, which is ironic because it's the end of January.
Yeah. And he's on the ice, eh? He's on the ice late in that game, right? That says that tells you what MSL thinks of him.
We'll get into the kid line in a sec, but I just felt like going back to Nick Suzuki, the way that Nick Suzuki is playing right now, it's very hard not to place him in the top 10 centers in this league. And when is the last time you could say that of a Montreal Canadiens center?
Like I said, close to the intro here, I'm all for rewriting history. A solid night in the face-off circle again for the Canadiens captain, who won just over 50.
Not just the Canadiens captain.
Well, I'm going to get into it here. Phil Deneau, 11 for 14.
79%.
9 for 11, 81%. Even Uri was perfect. I want to talk about Uri here as well. Joe Veleno goes 50% in the faceoff dot, where the Montreal Canadiens won 70% of the faceoffs in that hockey game. You always want to start with the puck, which takes me to Uri Slafkovsky, who had a obviously huge goal, gets the Canadiens on the board. I love this positioning there. Just very calmly finds the bumper spot, and then Roof Daddy on Alex Lyon gets the Canadiens goal-scoring party started. But what a mammoth-sized month for Uri Slafkovsky. 21 goals this season, 8 in January, and 16 points this month for Uri Slafkovsky.
Second half Slav, but on steroids.
Yeah.
It's cool when you get second half Slav, but first half Slav looked like last year's second half Slav, and now you're just getting the upgraded second half Slav.
Yeah.
So I'll call this, 2.0 Slav. He's playing in a way where he's now able to have confidence attacking soft ice. So being able to glide from the front of the net into the slot and back on the power play, it's very difficult because, as we talked about, when I asked him the question in Slovak, he didn't improve his shot in the sense that it's not like he has extra power on it. The release is so much quicker. And that's what makes him dangerous as kind of like that triangular trigger man on the power play, where it goes from high circle to basically goal line and back to him in the slot, and it's in. How many times have we seen that set play now? It's like the third time he scored that goal this month. And I think it makes the power play dangerous because they didn't have that in tight shooting element. I didn't feel like they had that for a while. They tried to put Zachary Bolduc into that role. He was effective in the first couple of games, but then it became difficult for him to kind of find that style and that wherewithal on the ice. Uri, obviously being the bigger guy, if he can have a similar release, he's going to be effective, and that's exactly what we've seen. But 5-on-5, especially against the Buffalo Sabres defense, like, they're not small, man. That's a big defense. And Uri Slafkovsky was just causing all kinds of ruckus in the offensive zone. And, I tip my hat to him because, as a puck possession player, he's a very difficult guy to not want to see on the ice basically every second or third shift. And he brings that competitiveness. He goes to the net, multiple odd man rushes that he was part of, yesterday, had a really good looks on Alex Lyon. I like what I saw. I really liked what I saw. And I'll go one step further. I think he pulls his line into the fight sometimes.
Yeah.
Because you saw him play and how chippy and slippery and like competitive did Ivan Demitrov look yesterday.
Well, I'm glad you brought his name up, because, you mentioned you want to talk about the kid line, as you coined them. I to me, it seems very noticeable. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems very noticeable, whether it's his line mates, his captain, his friends on the team, or the coaching staff. It looks to me more and more that 93 is like wanting to shoot the puck. Like, he's trying to find lanes. He's trying to rip pucks, breaking sticks, falling over, because he puts so much force and energy into that release. But, the growth of this now 20-year-old kid is, I mean, we've talked about, and Martin St. Louis has talked about, like, his processing power, right? The fact that he came here, English isn't his mother tongue. I think he speaks it so well, how quickly he's adapted, how often he produces. And in season, you notice him on the back check, Charlie Hustle on the back check. You notice him trying to explore shooting lanes and rip the puck when kids in the NHL, they want to defer. They want to put a little shine on their teammates, but the sky's the limit for Demitrov, truly. But his growth this season has been very noticeable, in particular the shooting aspect of his game.
Yeah, notwithstanding the fact that his Warrior sticks explode in his hands every time he tries to take a one-timer.
It's crazy.
I would just say, I think I would like for him to be a little bit more selfish.
Yeah, even
Nick
still,
Suzuki's, Nick Suzuki's power play goal, for example, against Vegas came off, a strong Ivan Demitrov shot from the top of the circle that caused the rebound, and then Nick Suzuki was able to grab onto and basically deposit into the net. So this is why I say maybe the perfect play isn't always the play. Sometimes you don't shoot to score. Sometimes you shoot for the rebound. And in the playoffs or in the second half of the season, when systems get tighter, that's what I'm looking forward to seeing, how this supercomputer takes in this information and adapts. Because that's what he is. He's a supercomputer. This guy takes in information and just continues to get better. When have you seen a Canadiens rookie, maybe outside of Lane Hudson, because, a little bit is spoiled, but when have you seen a Canadiens rookie at forward come in first season and his full 200-foot game improved this way when he was pegged as a pure offensive player, right? Demitrov just understands where he needs to improve, puts in the effort to try to improve. And I think last night was probably one of his best overall two-way games that we've seen. And it's not for naught that because of that, it helped translate into more offense, because he sent Slafkovsky and Kapan into the races twice on odd man rushes because they played a strong play in the defensive zone. He cut off a pass and sent them flying. So to me, very encouraging. My 5-year-old daughter's favorite player is Demitrov. She knows puck. I'm going to have to agree on this one.
Future GM or a professional scout in the making. Keep her watching those games, brother.
But I do continue to want to tip my hat again to Oliver Kapanen. Defensively, he has the making of, at worst, to me, an elite third-line center. His defensive play is just stupendous. To me, it's going to be, can he create? We're going to get there. He's a rookie. We'll see what happens. But the floor for him, for me, just continues to rise every single time, right? Worst case, fourth-line center at the beginning of last year. Now we're seeing everyday third-line center potential in him. And then he elevates offensively, or he makes the right play. Oliver Kapanen is never going to be the kind of center, in my opinion, that's going to be the playmaker like we see Nick Suzuki do. But the moment he gets a little stronger, because he's got the frame, he's about 6'2", pretty big boy. The moment he gets stronger and more assertive in the slot under high checking, this is a potential 25 goal scorer in the NHL. And that's really good to have down the middle. It gives you options. So kudos to him to continuing to show growth in the defensive side of his game. I look forward to seeing if he can really kind of elevate offensively over the next year or two.
We talked about it earlier in terms of elevation. Noah Dobson has been a pillar, playing both power play, shorthanded minutes. The coaching staff has done a pretty good job of doling out the minutes on an even keel basis. There's been some, topsy-turvy minutes. Lane Hudson, the other, I think it was the first game this week against Vegas, maybe got 25 minutes, then that kind of evened out. But other than the anomaly of Mike Matheson playing 27 minutes, like 7 more minutes than 4 of his teammates on the blue line. I mean, this, if we highlight Noah Dobson here for a second, I mean, this is exactly who Ken Hughes acquired, right? This is the $9.5 million player. This is the guy you trade 2 first-round picks, Emil Heineman, for, because I know you're fond of saying this. You can't find these guys around every corner. And listen, he's on 10 goals. The offense is nice, but what he brings in terms of D-zone coverage and the right times, Marco, to create offense in the O-zone, to me, I mean, he has come as advertised, if not more. Is that fair to say?
You don't trade players like Noah Dobson.
Even for 2 firsts and Emil Heineman.
I don't. Emil Heinemann was going to be a 40-goal scorer 10 games into the season.
Oh my God. Remember that was great.
The beauty of projections.
Yeah.
When it comes to Noah Dobson, I said it at the top of the show. I think he's been the Canadiens' number one defenseman in the month of January, bar none. I think Lane Hudson has been an absolute beast offensively, above a point per game right now, which is absolutely ridiculous. But in terms of overall impact, I think Noah Dobson's been the rock really in the month of January. And, his play has also elevated in a significant way. One of the leaders in the league in shot blocks, one of the leaders in the leagues in defensive zone takeaways leading to zone exits. One of the leaders in the league when it comes to one-on-one battles. He's just got such a strong active stick. And yesterday, what impressed me the most against Buffalo, physical. That's not something we've seen enough of Noah Dobson. And that's why I'm going to say he's not a perfect defenseman, but a physically implicated Noah Dobson, I'm here for that. I'm definitely here for that. Because if he gets into the game physically, when you talk to Noah Dobson in the dressing room, he's not the flamboyant kind of player. He's just average guy that just wants to talk and very calm, very collected, but not someone that's going to like overextend himself or try to be flamboyant. So he doesn't have that kind of element on the ice. But when he gets physically into a game, he's a very difficult defenseman to play with. And I think one of the elements that makes him so dangerous, the way he activates at the offensive blue line is so difficult to defend. Right now, you look at him; he gets the puck at the because sometimes they'll inverse. Hudson will be on the left, he'll be on the right. He'll get the puck on his forehand, and then because of his stride and his skate, the first three steps, the defending forward at the blue line will be second guessing. Is he going to go outside or is he going to go inside? And it doesn't matter which direction he goes because he's going to beat them either way because he's 6'4" and he's got this long reach. So he'll come into the outside, power move back into the slot, and it at that point doesn't matter. You've accessed the danger area, and the puck will then slide over to a Cole Caufield, or the puck will find its way to a Nick Suzuki in the corner, or he'll take a shot. He's scored a few that way this year. To me, he provides a level of possession that allows the Canadiens more opportunities for high danger scoring. That is not a quantifiable statistic. If you go on Hockey DB, natural stat trick, it's something you really have to measure one by one. This week, I've measured 8 opportunities from Noah Dobson in 3 games, and that's rare. Usually it's 1 or 2 a game, 1 or 2 a week, unless you're like Cale Makar, where he was able to force a high danger chance from an offensive zone activation. That's extremely rare. Defensemen generally don't do that, but the way that he's able to come in and do that kind of activation creates an overwhelming motion on the defensive unit. And when you're able to do that, they scramble, opens up passing lanes, and that's where the Canadiens are at their most dangerous. So he fits exactly right in to what Martin St. Louis wants to be as an offensive team moving forward. And I think that's why the Canadiens continue to have success when he and Lane Hudson are on the ice, because now you have 2 defensemen at the exact same time that can do that on the left and the right.
I'd love to see over 1,000 people watching us live. Thank you so much for being a part of the show today. Again, if you're just joining us, just hit that like button. Just helps the channel grow exponentially in terms of just getting more people to see what we're cooking up here with Marco D'Amico. I'm Sean Starr in the aftermath of the Montreal Canadiens, doubling up Buffalo in a 4-2 final off to Minnesota Monday at 7:30. Before we get to some Q&A, and I've seen Adam Engstrom's name pop up. We have a good dearth of high hockey IQ members in the chat when it comes to paying attention to not just the Canadiens. And Marco and I are going to highlight what Adam Engstrom has been up to, not just when he got called up, but when he went back to Laval and what he's doing in terms of being one of the leading point getters in the entirety of the AHL at his position and the role he's playing and what that means moving forward. And we'll talk about David Reinbacher in that context, even a little Florian Xhekaj too, right? So we're going to dip our toes into the AHL waters and cast a light on some of these Canadian prospects. So I saw Adam Engstrom's name in there. I just want to clarify that so you can stay tuned for that content coming up on the channel this week. Before we move on to some Q&A from the chat, because there's lots of good questions today. Monday, 7:30. I'm so proud of us that we haven't talked about goalie assignments, but the pride ends now because I'm going to ask you about Monday.
No.
I think it's a Monty game. I think it's a Monty game. I mean, Dobson clearly has been. I mean, we're on a Habs channel. Obviously, the guy's been on fire. You don't need me to say it, but I mean, Monty's got to play at some point. Why not Monday?
Do you want my opinion?
It's a tougher game.
I play Monty against Winnipeg.
Oh, really? Eh? What's the logic there? Walk me through it.
Winnipeg is the weaker team, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think it would make more sense if they feel like there's no confidence. Now, I'm not at practice with the Canadiens. I'm not Marco Marciano. I don't get to make those calls. I'm wrong, Marco. But yeah. I think what I could say here is if every game matters and the division is this tight, I wouldn't chance it against Minnesota. Like the Canadiens beat Minnesota, they're going to want to beat Montreal. Montreal hasn't beaten Minnesota in Minnesota since I've had hair.
It's such a
like
that's a tough barn to play in, man. Yeah,
and that's a long time too. Like the last time that they won in Minnesota, PK Subban had a hat trick in his rookie season.
Right?
Sorry, not rookie season, sophomore season.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got to do math, guys. Is third season, the season he won the Norris. So I wouldn't chance it. I would still go Dobson against Minnesota, and I would give Monty the last game against the Winnipeg Jets, because if you're able to go and get the 2 points versus Minnesota, it's still important to beat Winnipeg, but I feel like the team can kind of elevate to beat Winnipeg.
Right.
So we'll see what happens there.
The good news, there's no back-to-backs. It's Monday and Wednesday. And Wednesday, we're going to be live at McLean's Public House from 6 to 7 p.m. You can come hang with us, have a bite to eat, have a cold drink, watch the game from McLean's Public House, and hopefully maybe even enjoy our company if you're so inclined. We've got swag and Morella's gift cards to give away, so you can enjoy a nice boys' night or maybe even a date night at Morella's Steakhouse and Cigar Lounge. Marco, lots of good questions on the table. There's definitely a theme. As a hashtag not an insider, lots of questions, brother, about that's a callback to the Alan Walsh tweet when Marco.
Why do you have to bring this back? Why?
Well, listen, because people are looking for information. Everybody's thirsty, an unquenchable thirst, and I don't think you're going to be able to provide the water that they're seeking here. But lots of comments that I think I can summarize. Are you seeing or hearing, anticipating the Montreal Canadiens making something happen, whether it's by the 4th and the roster freeze or March 6th in the NHL trade deadline?
I'd be surprised with February 4th, just because right now it's a seller's market, and the Canadiens have indicated that they don't want to overpay for, they're very price oriented, and I just don't see it. I could be surprised, but from what I'm hearing right now, they're in no rush to make a move. Everything, they're a top 3 team in the most difficult division in hockey right now. I don't think that they're in a rush to change anything. What I would say is they will continue to look into it, and they're very active. But sometimes you have to wait for the market to shake loose, and I think that's where we're at right now. We're waiting for teams to join the seller's side. We're waiting for teams to decide if they're going to be buyers. We're waiting for Hank to jump onto Sean's lap. There's Hank, everybody. The MVP of the Star and D'Amico show.
It's our mascot. He's our official mascot.
Man, we need to get him cartooned.
Look, he's a big star.
He's a star. So I don't think the Canadiens are in any rush to make a trade right now. Could they make a trade before the trade deadline? Yes, that I believe they'll still look into. I think that they're always open to improving. I don't think that they're going to throw themselves at rentals. But if there's a player with term that fits what they consider to be a need, I think they'll definitely look into it. And doesn't necessarily have to be a big trade if the opportunity presented itself. They just want to make sure that they do it for the right price. Same way they did with Dobson. Let's remember that when Noah Dobson was first brought out as potentially available, and I had reported that he was available and the Canadiens were in on it, everybody was throwing names like Caufield or, someone even, I remember fans even suggesting Slafkovsky for Dobson 1-for-1. I think the Canadiens are looking to avoid that. They're looking for an opportunity cost like Noah Dobson, where you're able to get him in the right situation at the right time and take advantage of a trade clause or restricted free agency status, stuff like that. So I'd be interested to see where the Canadiens go with this, but I think it'll be dictated in large part by how wide the market gets for buyers on the seller's market.
Yeah, I'm getting more and more inclined to believe that there's no pressing issue in terms of how I think Ken Hughes and management are thinking in terms of like what's the rush, right? But here's a good question from Tony I wanted to highlight. Is Ken Hughes going to address the 6D issue by the trade deadline? Again, Arbor Jackeye, small minutes. He's been playing regularly, but hasn't been playing regularly, if you know what I mean. He's been dressed regularly. You can have your sixth defenseman playing 7 minutes a game, night in and night out?
I would say absolutely in the playoffs. Historically speaking, if you look at playoff utilization, it's generally the top four that play 50 of the 60 minutes in regulation, and the bottom pair will generally end up playing somewhere around 8 to 10. So I think that's spot on for when they eventually do get into the playoffs. Now, in this regular season, should Arbor Jackeye be playing more than 7 minutes a game? Yes. I think last night, that pairing with Alex Carrier was a little exposed at 5-on-5, and that's the reason they shortened the bench towards the end of the game. But, I think that there's growth opportunities, learning opportunities. They're going to figure it out. They've got guys in Laval as well that could play in the NHL on the defensive side. So I don't think they're in a super rush for that. And as long as Caden Gooley is healthy, I don't think that there's necessarily a something to be said, because it's more of a utilization issue and less so much them souring on Arbor Jackeye. I think if you bring in a number 6 defenseman, they'll still end up playing 7 to 10 minutes a game, because they're just going to spam Matheson, Dobson, Hudson, and Gooley, every second shift in a third period in a tight game.
I like this question from Rod Langway, thinking that Jaden Struble could be dealt for a veteran stay-at-home right-handed defenseman that maybe can provide depth, which, if I use that logic, and I think I like the way Rod kind of framed it, right? Because the way I think about it is, so let's work under the assumption that maybe the Canadiens aren't going to add a big piece, but they have pieces like Alex Newhook looks pretty good, man. He's putting weight on his leg and he's out there and he's skating. Alex Texier, let's assume that, obviously,
hasn't been playing healthy for like 3 weeks, right? By the way.
And so what? He's going to go play for France at the Olympics. What's that going to do for his timeline, right? But and we still don't know what's up with Patrick Laine. All that for me to say is, I mean, if the Canadiens are going to be if the Canadiens are going to be sellers, I mean, and the prices are crazy.
They have sellers in the sense that they would sacrifice.
Whether it's a Jaden Struble, whether you're going to try to move Joe Veleno in a depth move, or Patrick Laine in a move, or whatever,
Yeah, those would be, if you're going to trade a Jaden Struble, you're not going to trade him for a pick.
I wouldn't.
You're going to try to include him in a package for some way to improve your roster. That's a buyer's move.
Even value, though, do you think he has that, like NHL player for NHL player?
It depends on the team, right?
Yeah.
And depends where that team is. If that team is looking for a retool and they want to bring in a guy that can slot in right away into their third pair left side, potentially grow, I could see a Jaden Struble having value. The problem with the Canadiens right now is they have 5 left shot defensemen capable of playing in the NHL.
Right.
It's a little difficult, right? So you have to play Gooley on the right just to be able to get him significant minutes, because or else he'd be playing third pair. Like, you don't want to do that. So the Canadiens have a very interesting setup, but it's not because players are bad. It's because they have better players now, and that's a good problem to have. So do I think that Jaden Struble has value? Yes. Do I think Jaden Struble's value is high? No, but there's still value in being able to trade an NHL capable 23-year-old into a team that's looking to retool and giving a guy a shot. So I think it could happen. But like I said, I'm not saying that I've heard that Jaden Struble is about to get traded. I'm just saying that could be an option, should they want to improve elsewhere. You want to potentially a veteran right shot D. Well, listen, that's easier said than done. And I don't think the Canadiens are going to be necessarily in the high rental market for that. I think that contending teams are also going to be looking for that kind of player. So we'll see how it breaks down.
Well, listen,
I think the Canadiens,
I even like insurance policies because
insurance policies,
Alex Carrier takes a lot of contact, man. This guy gets hit hard all the time.
Yeah, I don't disagree there, but I guess we'll talk about it a little bit more in detail tomorrow on what that defensive outlook could potentially be.
More questions from the audience. How would you approach Kirby Dach's restricted free agency coming up this offseason?
Yeah, well, Kirby Dach's RFA status is a little interesting. So he has arbitration rights. His qualifying offer is $4 million. I don't think the Canadiens are paying him $4 million unless he really just kind of keeps going offensively. So my thing would be, let's see how the season goes.
Yeah.
Let's see how the season continues. If Kirby Dach really finds a role for the Canadiens in a top 9 setting on the wing where he's able to play that game, like say he finishes this season 45-point pace, 50-point pace, say. If he's a 50-point pace winger, is that worth $4 million to you? Personally, kinda. But there is an argument to be made if you're the Montreal Canadiens where you say, we're not going to qualify you because this happens. They don't qualify the player. He becomes a free agent momentarily, and then you sign him to a lower end deal right after. That's a handshake agreement that a lot of organizations make. I think that could be on the table. I think that if he continues to play well, he may also become a trade chip. If ever they do go and get that coveted top 6 winger with compete that they've talked about, that's also an opportunity. So there are options on the table, and the better Kirby Dach gets, the more options the Canadiens have with Kirby Dach. And I think it's too soon to say what they're going to do with him, but I'll say this. Teams across the league I spoke to before Kirby Dach's injury thought that he was playing the best hockey of his career, and some teams liked what they saw. So it isn't to say that the Canadiens don't already have options with Kirby Dach. And if he's able to finish the season healthy, I think that'll go a long way to determining his future, be it in Montreal or elsewhere. I just feel like that $4 million qualifying offer may be a little too rich right now.
More questions from the audience. Why won't you guys talk about Brendan Gallagher and his
Where the hell have you been?
I was about to, brother. I mean, we've spoken about Brendan Gallagher. We've, again, just
we don't have to spend every goddamn episode being like, this guy needs to be bought out. No.
The no movement clauses,
it's very simple. It's very simple. No movement clause. We'll see what happens in the summer. End conversation.
I mean, the no movement clause also doesn't mean you can't bench him, because when Alex Newhook comes back, I mean, let's address the question. I mean, when Alex Newhook gets back, I mean, Marco, it's going to be hard to make a case for Martin St. Louis to keep him in the lineup every night.
I think that's a fair assessment to make, but I don't know that I need to bring it up every show. Like he looks absolutely exposed against teams like Buffalo that are predicated on speed and elite level forecheck. He gets exposed in that regard. Where I would say we need to maybe lay off is that it can't just be the same topic of conversation. Like, find a new whipping boy. Or why do you need a whipping boy in the year of 2026 when the Canadiens are one of the top 10 teams in the NHL? Like, we all see the same thing. He is not at the level that you need for a player in his role in terms of physical attributes. He doesn't have the speed. I don't think he has the stamina for it. But I think Brendan Gallagher is a player you want in the playoffs when the games get slower or trenchy, in the sense that, every inch you have to fight for. That's a guy you want to go to war with. Does he have to play every single game between now and the end of the season? No, I 100% agree. When Alex Newhook comes back, maybe there's a rotation on that fourth line.
Right.
But I don't think he's as useless as everybody says. I just think that with the way the season played out and how condensed it is, players like Gallagher get exposed at this time of the year. I think the 3-week time off is going to be very good for Brendan Gallagher.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, that's up for Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon to look into in the summer. If they want to trade him, if they want to buy him out, if they want to just let him finish the year that he has on his deal as a thank you for the services you've provided for this organization since 2013. Like, that's up to them. That's above my pay grade. But if you want me to talk about Brendan Gallagher and how he is not, a replacement level player at the NHL right now, I'm not going to do that every single episode.
Jokingly, how come you guys don't talk about Crosby? If you want to see Marco cry like Crosby cried when they honored the 2016 Penguins on Saturday
I'm not
night.
going to cry, guys. I'm not going to cry. I'm going to just say, I told you so. Crosby dreams are not happening. At least not.
You can't say I told you so. The Penguins are 10 times better than anybody thought they'd be. I mean, no one thought
it was never in the cards.
Never. I can't believe that. I refuse. The child in me refuses to
I
believe
will
that.
tell you this from a very straight source, that all the Montreal Crosby hype was media driven, and that everyone involved in that circle was like WTF, STFU. Because I won't spell it out.
You guys can figure that out.
We'll joke about Crosby. We'll joke about it, but it was never an option.
I like this question.
At this time.
I like this question here. Will Cole Caufield or Lane Hudson get the A when Gallagher is done as a Canadian, one way or the other? That's a good one.
Caden Gooley.
No, I had it. Really?
And that's not my call. That's what I think the Canadiens are going to do.
I had a Caufield. Caufield's such a leader, as you said, I mean, this is such a warrior. I mean, this is the guy you want. I mean, he is a leader.
I think that if leadership-wise, knowing that room, knowing Martin St. Louis and how he speaks of certain players, I think Caden Gooley will get that A. Even though if it were me, I'd give it to Lane. That's my take.
Yeah, I don't think there's a bad answer. The Caden Gooley one's a surprising one. I mean, I've heard, Mark Denis forever, the analyst on RDS covering the Canadiens in French, would always reference when he'd play road games, the one player coaches from the opposition they'd often ask and rave about Caden Gooley, And listen, don't misinterpret me. Caden Gooley's very much a leader. This guy, as Marco likes to say, he wants the smoke. He likes the jam. Here's one from Stefan. Is Philip Forsberg an option or just a delusion as Habs Nation looks to see additions to their forward group?
I don't want to be mean and say it's a delusion, but I don't think it's realistic.
Okay.
If you look at the Nashville Predators, they're not the bottom-feeding team that they were, 2 months ago. They are 3 points out of a playoff spot.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think they're in that. I don't think it's the sky is falling teardown mode that we saw. Do I think that they could still trade off pieces if they don't end up, if they end up falling off in the next, well, I mean, there's only a week before the Olympic break, but before the March 6th trade deadline, yeah, I could see it. But I don't think they're going to go stripping it, completely and trading away probably one of their best offensive players. I don't see that happening. I think in Nashville, I think this renewed run that they've been on over the last month has given them a little bit of hope that it's more of a retool than a rebuild. And so they're probably going to play it more safe. And I don't see a need for them at this point to trade a guy like Philip Forsberg, though he would be a fantastic target. I give you that.
The Canadiens are in third place. They're on 69 points. The Buffalo Sabres, nice. The Buffalo Sabres, they're in Florida to wrap up their pre-Olympic break. They're at the Panthers Monday night, at Tampa Bay Tuesday night. So 3 massive Atlantic Division games for the Buffalo Sabres before they hit the break. Let me ask my own question to you about transactions. As it relates to parity, the extreme parity, certainly in the Atlantic and the Eastern Conference, what's going on in the Western Conference. Do you think this parity leads us down the path that whether it's March 6th or the couple of days leading into March 6th, that there's going to be a flurry of activity? Are you hearing anything on the level of transactions, maybe the hockey fan in the chat or watching us can anticipate in the days leading up to the deadline day itself?
Well, the deadline day is a little difficult to say just because it's 6 weeks away. But I think we may see activity in the next 3 days.
Really? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if a Panarin deal came down
Right.
before the 4th, right? I think that's on the table. I think a lot of teams kind of want to get some trades done now. So because if you look at the calendar, games, right, are off from the 4th till about the 25th, 26th of February. So there's 3 weeks off. But teams can actually begin to start practicing again as of the 16th, 17th of February. So there's like 10 days in there where you can get in while everybody's at the Olympics, or at least some of the guys are at the Olympics, and get to know the team, get to know the trainers, get to know the coaches, get to know some of the teammates that aren't in the Olympics. There's value in doing it early for that so that you can get familiar with the systems. You know, if you're trading for guys that are going to be on your special teams, practice the special teams. Like there are elements like that where there's value to make the trade before the 4th and not after the trade freeze is lifted once the Olympics are done, you know? So that's where I think we may see in the next 2-3 days, maybe. I'm not predicting a flurry of moves. Like I'm not going to make that claim, but there's definitely a lot of conversations being had right now to try and get deals done before the 4th. And the 4th, if I'm not mistaken, the trade freeze is actually during the day. It's not at midnight. So I'd have to double check that, but I believe it's either at noon or at like 3 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to have to double check. So it's going to come down to it. I think at the moment of this recording, it's probably like 3 days exactly, or 36 hours or 37 hours away. So, 73 hours away. So maybe it's just something to keep an eye on, but I know that there's lots of conversation.
I'll be honest, man. This team and what they did this week, in the midst of letting go Eric Raymond, Marco Marciano promoted from the Laval Rocket goaltending coach position to the Montreal Canadiens on an interim basis, with President Jeff Gordon talking about, nobody wants to be held back or anything like that, but teams were poking around and wondering about Marciano's future with the Montreal Canadiens. Mm-hmm. Well, we know that. One more comment here from Montreal Made. Thank you so much, brother. Is the Panarin deal going to dictate trade prices up to the March 6th deadline around the National Hockey League?
I think with Panarin, one of the things to keep into consideration is that he's going to get traded with an extension.
Yeah.
He absolutely wants an extension in the 3 to 4 year range, around $11 to $12 million a year is what he's looking for. So his trade is not going to be your typical trade. It's going to be a hockey deal because he's coming in not as a rental, but as an acquired piece with an extension. So it's going to cost a little bit more. Do I think it's going to set the market? I don't believe that it'll impact prices on the market per se, because I don't even know if he's going to be traded by himself. There are, for example, if he's traded to San Jose also has interest in Braden Schneider. What if that's a package deal for a bigger, bigger return, right? There's that. There's the fact that I don't think this is going to be your typical trade deadline, because in terms of available rentals with top 6 ability, crickets after Panarin. There's not that many. Maybe Jordan Eberle, Jaden Schwartz, but in terms of pure rentals, and even then, Seattle's right in the thick of it right now in terms of the playoff race. So, would they sell? There's a lot of question marks right now, in my opinion. So in terms of rental players, I don't think that sets the market, because he's not going to be a traditional rental player. What I think is going to happen is you're going to see one hockey trade, right? Like a hockey trade, for example, I think Justin Falk is a player to watch. I think Justin Falk is now that Rasmus Anderson is off the market, I think Justin Falk is going to get a lot of attention. And so a player to watch, in my opinion. I know Boston's been looking at him. Dallas has been looking at him. So that's a player that I think, not a rental, but a hockey trade. Look at what that returns you, because that may be a different price point than Rasmus Anderson.
Jared McCann's been on an absolute heater. Just when you're thinking about the Seattle Kraken, this guy's been on a goal scoring streak for the better part of a week here now. I think he's on 18 goals, I think, for the Kraken. But that team's starting to get a little bit more competitive in a wonky,
Absolutely.
in a wonky Western Conference. The Canadiens 18
Cuckoo
and 6
Bananas Western Conference.
There, see now we're cooking. Now we're cooking with gasoline. The Montreal Canadiens blistering hot, dominant all week long in terms of accumulating points. 6 on the table, 6 in their back pocket, and love the fact that the captain put the challenge at the feet of his teammates. Felt like they believed that they treated that game like a must-win game, and they walk away with a regulation time victory. Important to win these games in regulation should it come down to these tie-breaking scenarios. And the Montreal Canadiens leapfrog Buffalo, take over possession of third place in the Atlantic Division. Coming up for the Canadiens, Marco, it's Monday night at Minnesota on Amazon Prime, 7:30 puck drop, or probably closer to 7:45 if we're being honest. And then, Marco, our live watch party ahead of the Habs' final game before the break.
Absolutely. February 4th at Maison Publique McLean. So not the original McLean's, Maison Publique, just right up the street. We'll be there from 6 to 7 to do the show, but then we'll also be watching the game with you, live watch party. So you can come and hang out. The podcast will be broadcast throughout the bar. So
yes,
it's not like you have to sit on the screens and everything. So you can come and hang out for the show, engage. And then after that, just hang back, get some food, buy some drinks. I will be there to hang out with you guys and answer any of your questions that you want one-on-one.
And as always, with over 1,100 people watching us live, 71 minutes into the show, hit that like button. It really helps the channel. Just puts more eyeballs. Just the exposure certainly is great for the channel. And I think this community has been loyal in their ongoing support. Love the chat today. You guys were absolutely electrifying, on fire. So smash that like button and let's continue to grow this community together as we have all season long. And we ain't stopping, baby.
So I was correct, and I do want to thank Sam Habs in the comment section. February 4th, 3 p.m. Eastern is the trade freeze before the Olympics. So thank you for that. I knew it was either noon or 3 p.m. I knew it was in the middle of the afternoon, but thank you for confirming that. I didn't want to look at my other screen during the live, just so we stay focused here. But thank you for doing the research for me.
Boy, Habs Nation is. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, like Sean said, and I'm going to talk about Habs Nation right now. Thank you so much again for subscribing. Those that haven't, please do. It means the world to us that you follow the show, that the numbers continue to increase the way that they have. And like the Montreal Canadiens, I feel like the best is still yet to come for our podcast. So thank you so much for continuing to follow us. We've got some fun stuff for you this week. And also, and I want to really stress this, we will continue to record during the Olympic break, talking about the Olympics, but talking also what we're hearing in terms of discussions across the league and following the prospects for the Montreal Canadiens. So make sure to keep it locked with us, because we'll be continuing to bring out daily content throughout the 3-week Olympic break. And like we did in the summer, we'll make sure to keep you guys entertained every single day of the week.
And as you said, the best is yet to come. And, like the Montreal Canadiens, we also won't have Sidney Crosby. So there's symmetry there. And I love that. I love that for us. I love that for us.
Triggered.
One of the best compliments, I've been in radio for a long time. One of the best compliments is a callback to references made on the show, whether it was Friday and the Cuckoo Bananas or whether it was Marco's sign off.
Julian
McKenzie. Julian McKenzie on.
Julian McKenzie will literally kill me. I had one pass. Pass. So
the
I
best
don't know
was
that
when the camera stopped and it was just us talking off camera. Everyone was like, "What the frig was that?"
Yeah, I got scolded. I was not allowed to culturally appropriate.
But
great. A lot of streams during the break. We'll be looking to do post games of the Olympic games, because since the games are going to be in the morning and afternoon, we'll be able to do lives maybe in the mid-afternoon to be able to go over maybe Team Canada, Team USA, look at maybe what happened that day. So we're open to being able to produce live streams and content in that regard. And if not, we will continue with the regular 15 to 20 minute episodes that we do on a daily basis as well. So keep it locked here. Because I know it's a lot of people are going to miss NHL hockey at that time. There's a lot of hockey still going on. So we will make sure to keep you guys informed and entertained during that time as well.
Marco, listen, I know you're a diehard golfer. I know you're going to go watch the Farmers Insurance and watch Justin Rose close it out at Torrey Pines. I don't want to keep you from that. I know you're going to neglect your wife and your chores and just to watch Justin Rose.
Why does this feel like projection?
Oh, maybe it is. Maybe
Yeah,
your radar is on point.
The only reason I golf is for the free booze cart.
The free booze cart. How many tournaments are you invited to?
None. I just go for like work events, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, the après golf scene is very, very good. We'll have to get that going at one point. I'll just give you my account number, and you can sit on the veranda with your sunglasses on.
Are we gonna do a Star and D'Amico like golf classic, and I'll just be the mascot?
Oh, you got to play. What are you gonna do? You're just gonna drive around on a golf cart and shake babies and kiss hands? What are you gonna do?
That sounds like something I'd do. I don't know. Like if you see, I'm really good at two things. I'm good at putting. And I'm good at driving. God. But the moment woods and irons and wedges are involved, I am I'm as useless. Yeah, golf. I'm as useless as can be. Useless. Yeah. My short game sucks.
Yeah. Hey, listen, if you need clubs, if you need I got you. I don't know. You're lefty or what? What's your deal?
I'm a righty in every way.
I would pick a bag, pick a club. I've got you.
Can I just be your caddy?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Rake the bunkers. Fix the divots.
We'll do what we can here. I'll just be there with my Cuckoo Bananas shirt.
I love it. Yeah, get cheapesttshirts.ca on the case. That's our preferred destination whenever we need shirts or hats made. As you can see, we've got them all. Marco was sporting a nice logo toque the other day on one of the podcasts he was on. I love that.
Yep, absolutely. We'll have more on that. We're going to be setting up our e-commerce site. Probably in the month of March, so keep that locked. We'll be able to get you guys equipped with the Star and D'Amico gear, as we get into the spring. Yeah.
All right, man. Good stuff today. Don't forget, we got lots of content coming up this week. We're going to talk about some Canadiens prospects and Florian Jacki, what's he up to? David Reinbacher. On a nice weekend, Jacob Fowler, strong performance over the weekend for the Laval Rocket, and Adam Engstrom in beast mode. All that coming up on the channel. So make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification button so you never miss an episode, so you're alerted right away as soon as the new drop is dropped. Thank you, Marco. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, man.
Always a pleasure, guys. Have a great rest of the weekend, and we'll see you tomorrow.